slippery. It is Saturday, June 15th, 2019, and I am at the Middle Fork trailhead of the Gila River in the Gila Wilderness in New Mexico. And I have 8 days of food in my backpack, so I'm going to be doing either a 7 or 8 day loop of the Middle Fork of the Gila River. So I'm going to be taking the Gila about 2 days. I'm going to be next to water, and then I'm going to travel up high under the mesa top, overland for another 2 days. And then I'm going to drop back down into the West Fork of the Gila River and spend about 3 or 4 days down there until I get back to the car. So let's get going. So this is just the area right near the trailhead. And right at the gate you can see the Gila River below. And I'm going to be crossing that river quite a bit. And I'm actually excited about it because it's about 90 degrees out today. So that's going to cool me off a lot. All right, the water temperature is wonderful. I'd say hiking with all these river crossings in 90-degree weather is actually kind of ideal because you don't get cold, you just kind of chill in the water. Big group of people down there enjoying the water. I just passed by. Nice little shaded area right here. Oh wow. So there's a campsite not even a mile in from the trailhead. That's really cool. A lot of evidence of fire burn on these ponderosa pine. It's about ankle deep over here, maybe a little bit more. Check out these massive old growth ponderosa trees. We're starting to get some taller canyon walls now. Deeper canyon walls. Getting our first glimpse of some of the different colors of the rocks. So it's kind of changing from sort of a dark gray into a sort of cream kind of peach color. Oh, this water is great. It's so nice right now. It's pretty hot today. So I had been walking for a while and had neglected to look up. And at one point I finally looked up and I saw how high the canyon walls had become. And here's kind of a more detailed look at the cliffs. There's a cave up there. I don't think there are any cave dwellings in it, but it's a cave nonetheless. Well, it does look like some weather is moving in maybe. I'll have to check the forecast later on. And you can see how tall the canyon walls are getting. And I believe these are the eastern canyon wall of the Middle Fork. So you can see now there's some spires that are coming to view. And I don't know if I can convey just how tall they are on camera. That thing looks like it has a big stinger on its butt. Alright, I have made camp for night number 1. I went about 7 to 7.5 miles today. So I am just short of the junction with Little Bear Canyon. Um, that's pretty much where I wanted to be, and that's exactly where I ended up, so I'm happy with that. I'm actually right off the water here, which is great. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have a fire yet, just because it is very windy today, and the weather was talking about gusts of 25 miles an hour tonight, so I may not have a fire. We'll see. But anyway, this wilderness, the Gila Wilderness, I have to say, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm kind of blown away by it. There are not many places in the desert Southwest that have flowing rivers year-round that you can go into, because the Gila Wilderness is technically a desert wilderness, but there are a lot of ponderosa pines. There's a lot of dense foliage, so you're constantly in and out of the water, at least when you're along the Middle Fork and the West Fork. And so you always have access to water. You're always getting your feet and your legs cooled off. So even though the high today must have been between 90 to 92 outside, I really didn't feel that hot, and that was wonderful. So I'm going to have to kind of put this on my list of places that you can go in the Southwest in summertime, because there aren't a whole lot of those places. Here's another look at my camp and kind of just the view I have, looking right up these spires. I'm kind of surprised my tripod even reaches this far up. So I have an awesome view from my campsite. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make dinner and call it a night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Well, I lied. I did have a fire because it's a completely calm night, and I'm really happy about it. All right, it is day 2. This morning I'm just going to head up the Middle Fork of the Gila River again, about 8 to 8.5 miles, to a place called the Meadows, where I think I'm going to camp for the night. And that's about it. All right, let's get going. Here's some of the detail of the canyon walls. I am really close to Jordan Hot Springs right now. There's kind of a swimming hole over here. This is Jordan Hot Springs. I won't be going into Jordan Hot Springs today because I actually have a cut on my leg from some sharp plants that I got yesterday, and there is a bacteria in these hot springs that the Park Service people say if you splash in your face or your nose, or if you get it into an open cut, this bacteria can actually travel up into your brain, and it will eat your brain, and it's a very high mortality rate. So I won't be going in this water today. Don't forget to look up from time to time. You might be missing out. Alright, here's a look around my camp. I am camped in the Meadows tonight, and it is absolutely gorgeous out here. There is my stuff, my fire ring. Alright, well, it's been a long day. Tomorrow is probably going to be the hardest hiking of all the days because I'm going to be first thing in the morning. I'm going up, climbing close to 2,000 feet in a couple of miles onto the mesa top. So I'm going to turn in early tonight and so I can get an early start tomorrow. So that's going to be the end of day 2. Good night. Well, good morning. It is day 3. I just made breakfast and coffee, and I'm going to be hitting the trail really soon. Today I'm going to be heading up out of the canyon, just up this area right behind me. So I've got a lot of climbing to do today, and I think the route is going to be about 12 miles. What I'm going to do is head up to Pryor Cabin, and then from there I'm going to continue across the kind of mesa top to a place called Lilly Park, and I think that's where I'm going to camp for the night. Let's get going. Just kind of a shot of the area that I'm going to be climbing up into today. So I believe the trail is going to go right up through where you can see the clearing kind of center right. Alright, I have reached my trail junction at the top, and we have a sign here. It says the Meadows, 1 mile. That's where I just came from. I'm going to go towards Pryor, 3.5 miles. And then from there, I think I'm going to do another, I don't know the mileage exactly, 6 to 9 miles to Lilly Park, where I'm going to camp for the night. just the area that's about a mile, maybe half a mile from Prior Cabin. You can see some mountains in the distance. All right, well, I have reached Prior Cabin. That was actually really difficult hiking to get over here. It was about 4.5 miles, and that took me over 2 hours to make that. So I did find water here at Prior Cabin and the drainage right next to it. So I have a decision to make now whether I want to camp here for the night or if I want to continue on to my original destination, which is Lilly Park. Hey, look at this. I have found water. I was assured by the rangers that there would be zero water. There is plenty of water. Actually gonna collect from this. You know, it looks kind of nasty, but I'm sure this is good water. All right, well, I just filtered water and I just ate some lunch, and I basically just chugged 2 liters of water and then refilled those from the spring over here. So I'm back to my full 8-liter max capacity. So I think because it's so early, it's only 2:30 p.m. So I'm probably just gonna go ahead and head back out to Lilly Park. I think it's about 5.5 to 6 miles from here. So I should still be able to make that before nightfall. All right, let's get going. All right, I have made camp at Lilly Park. And so I'm kind of tucked off into some woodlands here. And here's kind of a view of Lilly Park. It's a wide open area with tall grasses. It's beautiful, kind of reminds me of like a Yellowstone type of vibe. All right, well, I'm camped at Lilly Park here. Today was a very long day. I think I spent close to 8 hours on the trail, making about 15 miles. So all the way from the bottom of the middle fork of the Gila River up to the top, and then overland onto a place called Jackson Mesa, and then you just kind of undulate over these hills. There's actually some really steep areas, so it was pretty exhausting. But yeah, it's 15 miles in the bag for today, so I'm pretty beat, so I'm going to call it a night. That's it for day number 3. Good night. All right, it is day 4. Today I am just going to take the Trotter Trail, number 30, I believe, down into the West Fork of the Gila River. And from there, I think, let's see, it's about 3 miles from here down to the West Fork. And then I think I'm going to follow the West Fork about 3 to 4 miles to a place called Hell's Hole. Sounds beautiful. And I'm probably going to camp over there for the night. All right. To view the area near the top of Trotter Trail. You can kind of see the entire basin of the West Fork. Pretty stunning views. You can kind of just barely make out the West Fork down there. That's where we're going. Alright, I have reached the West Fork of the Gila River, and now I have to continue downstream about 4 miles to the Hell's Hole area where I plan to make camp for the night. Alright, I've come across another trail junction. This one says Hell's Hole 4¼ miles that away. Okay, I've reached another trail junction. So this one is saying Hell's Hole 4 miles, and it goes up, so it climbs really high up again. So I guess we're gonna climb some more. The reason we're not following the West Fork all the way is this, and it basically says it's not maintained along this way right here. I thought for a second about doing this trail, and I could probably figure it out, but just to play it safe, I will head upwards behind me for, I think, a couple miles, descend down back into the West Fork, and then continue on to Hell's Hole. All right, I am about halfway done with the overland approach back down into the Gila River towards Hell's Hole. And I have a pretty good view from here. And I actually have a pretty good view of the river from up here. Alright, I have found a place to camp for night number 4. I actually got in here really early. It's just before 4 p.m. This area is just past Hell's Hole. I actually didn't go over to Hell's Hole because the path over to it was very overgrown and kind of brambles, and I didn't feel like dealing with that. But the West Fork of the Gila is right through that embankment right there, so I'm pretty close to water. Here's a look at camp. I just climbed a little hill up here to collect some firewood. Just scavenging up what I can find out here. It's nearing the end of my day. I thought I'd talk a little bit about kind of the trail conditions out here. Today's hiking was a little bit easier than yesterday. On day 3, I covered about 14½ miles, and it was a lot of climbing. It was a lot of elevation gain, and then constant kind of going up a hill and then going down the other side, and then just repeating that. And then eventually climbing up canyons, descending again, and then climbing more canyons after that. So it was a really hard day yesterday, but today was actually a lot easier. Actually, once you descend this trotter trail, which seems like these endless switchbacks almost, you get back down to the bottom with the West Fork, and then you just kind of follow the West Fork for a ways. The trail does go back up and like about halfway up again to the canyon wall, and then you follow that for a while before descending back down. And I think there used to be the option to just follow the river, the West Fork, like all the way through, but there were signs up that said that those trails were not maintained. They weren't recommended for use. I thought for a second that maybe I'll just follow the river, but I figured at the end of the day I would rather do some climbing than do bushwhacking. So I took the official West Fork Trail, which did rise up out of the water, or I guess out of the drainage, and kind of cut around sort of a cliff face and then descend back down. And then you do kind of follow the West Fork for a while, and you do a few creek crossings, not as much as what I'm anticipating the next couple days, because I did see on the map that the West Fork, as you get past this point going downstream, it kind of goosenecks a lot. So there's going to be a lot of creek crossings, and it's going to be slow miles, just like day 1 and 2. So anyway, I'm about to make dinner here. The fire looks very comforting right now, so I think I'm going to go enjoy that and call it a day for the end of day 4. So good night. Well, good morning. It is day number 5. Last night I stayed up pretty late tending that big fire, so I slept in. It is already almost 9 a.m. this morning. Today I'm just going to continue down the West Fork of the Gila River, and my goal today is to get within about 2 or 3 miles of the Gila Cliff Dwellings. And it looks like that instead of being 7 or 8 days, this trip's going to be more like 6 or 7 days. And that's mainly because when I was up on Jackson Mesa, I had originally intended to camp near Prior Cabin. So I was going to make that 2 days, but instead did that entire section as one 14.5 mile push. And the reason being is that when I got to Prior Cabin, there were so many biting flies, and it was just really hot out and really sunny, and it was pretty early in the day, and I just didn't feel like dealing with that for the entire afternoon. So I ended up covering miles a lot quicker than I thought I would. So today it's going to be a pretty laid-back hike of probably about 8 miles, I'm guessing. And then tomorrow on day 6, I will be back to the car after just a few miles of hiking down the river, and then road walking about 1.5 miles back to the visitor center where my car is parked. All right, I thought I'd take a moment to share on the map the route that I've taken so far. So on day 1, I started at the Gila Visitor Center, and I traveled up the middle fork of the Gila River to where it bends right here, and I believe this is called Little Bear Canyon. And I camped just east of the junction with Little Bear Canyon on night 1. And then on day 2, I continued up past Jordan Hot Springs and just followed the middle fork until I hit the Meadows, where I camped on night 2. The Meadows is really pretty, but the trail branches off in several locations, kind of off into different campsites. So it's a little bit confusing, and you have to kind of figure out on your own where to go to camp and how to access the river from where you're camping. So on day 3, I climbed up out using trail number 28, and this was extremely steep climbing. You have to realize that each one of these contour lines is 200 feet, so well over 1,000 feet of climbing within 1 mile. And once I got to the top, I traveled west along trail 156 to Prior Cabin. And at that point, I collected water, and I decided I was just going to keep going since it was early in the day. So I kept going up next to Chicken Coop Canyon onto Jackson Mesa. And this also proved to be very long, steep climbing. So that was a really kind of hard day of hiking. Once you get up to this junction, it does drop you down, and you kind of go up and down some hills into this canyon where you find Lilly Park Spring. And I want to note something. Even though it's June and this is the dry period, there was water at Prior Cabin. There was actually water trickling down Prior Creek, and there was also water in the collection bucket for the spring. There was also water at Lilly Park Spring. So I was actually carrying about 8 liters of water, and I didn't even have to. It's just the Park Service people said, this time of year, plan to carry your water. So I hope that helps people out. But once you hit Lilly Park Spring, the trail continues, and let me show you the other side of the map for where I hiked on day 3. We're on the west side of the map now, and you can see Lilly Park is right here. And what I did is I took Trotter Trail number 30 down right here, and then there's a series of switchbacks. I swear it must have been over 20 switchbacks that takes you from the top of the mesa down about, I'm guessing it's over 1,200 feet elevation change. And that brings you down to the Gila River, and at that point you have some different options from where you can go. My original plan was actually to loop around this direction. I was actually told by the Park Service people that this trail 814 is not well maintained. And I decided, just based on how difficult the climbing was, that I would just continue down into the west fork of the Gila River yesterday. So from there, I just followed the Gila River Trail. And then once I hit the Gila West Fork, I just continued along. And it does climb up again out of the river in very short order. And it's about a mile there where it climbs up out, and then it drops back down, and then you basically just follow the river off on the south side of it for a few miles until you hit this area, which is Hell's Hole. I actually was going to take the Hell's Hole trail just to check it out, but it was extremely overgrown with kind of brambles, sharp stuff, and some poison ivy, so I decided to turn around and just take the Gila River Trail, which it climbs up over this small pass, I think, just to kind of save time for people. And then immediately where it drops down, that's where I'm currently camped right now, right in here. And today, I think what I'm going to do is try to get close to this area, this Trail 28. I'm thinking I'll camp within about a mile or 2 of it, and then tomorrow on day 6, I'll be able to just walk back to the car, which is right here. All right, this trail junction sign just off of my camp shows the Cliff Dwellings are 11.5 miles. So I figure my car is parked about 2 miles off of the Cliff Dwellings, so that makes 13.5 miles back to the car. So if I cover about 8 or 9 miles today, that should leave only a few miles left to hike tomorrow. I seem to have a knack for encountering snakes on the water. Pretty awesome panorama in front of me. I'm kind of surrounded on all sides by these cliffs. It's just stunning, the detail in the rocks. More amazing views. I think I am only about 3 miles from the Cliff Dwellings. And it looks like there's some actual little cliff dwellings up there. It's hard to tell on camera, but I can see that there's definitely some kind of wall or structure that was built in there. All right. Looks like there actually are some cliff dwellings right next to where I'm camping tonight. This is right off the water next to my campsite. I imagine it's a pretty difficult climb to get up there. And who really knows what the story is with this cave? But it's pretty cool. I imagine it's filled with bats. All right, I have found a place to camp for night number 5. I'm actually right next to some cliff dwellings that are overlooking the river that's just right off my campsite. So it's really cool. This looks like a big outfitter's campsite. It's fully stocked with a giant pile of wood. So if conditions permit, I'm going to have a pretty big fire tonight and enjoy my last night in the Gila Wilderness. Tomorrow I will be hiking out back to the car. I think at this point it's going to be under 5 miles, maybe even less than that. And I don't think it's going to be difficult hiking like the last couple days has been, just because I won't be as much in and out of the river and in and out of the water and climbing up and down. I think it's a pretty straight shot from here. The cliffs visible from my campsite are turning this kind of peach golden color in the sunset. All right, it is day 6. The final day, I will be just walking a short distance up the Gila West Fork to the Cliff Dwellings, and then from there, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out. It looks like there's 3 trails that fork off. So either I'm going to be walking trail or road, depending on where it takes me, for about 2 to 3 miles. So I think it's going to be a total of 5 miles today, very short day. back to the car. So let's get going. Pretty wide and open at the end of the West Fork. I believe I'm getting pretty close to the Cliff Dwellings. And these rock formations in front of me, they remind me a lot of southern Utah. Alright, here I am at the trailhead, looking at the info box about the West Fork. 30 million years ago, this area was created. Well, anyway, I've got a road walk about 2 miles from here, back to the Middle Fork trailhead. Alright, I have made it back to the car. So this has been an awesome trip. It was a little shorter than I was expecting. Originally I went out for 7 to 8 days. It ended up being 6 days just because I cut short the area where I dropped down into the West Fork. But overall, I really enjoyed the trip. It's really pretty. It's so scenic. Down in the canyons, it reminds me a lot of a place like southern Utah. And then up on the high mesas, you have these pine forests that remind me of northern Arizona, kind of the Mogollon Rim area and the areas around Flagstaff. So you have a large diversity of things to see and areas to experience. So I think I probably will come back to the Gila Wilderness someday. That said, it's been an awesome trip. I think I'm going to get on the road now, so I will see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed.